Hello and welcome to the video. This is about this model here. This is the H King Flycat from Hobby King. Now this is a 70mm 41-inch PNF model. Has ailerons and an elevator, no rudders in the vertical stabilizer, and it is quick. Specs on this thing: wingspan is 1042mm. It is 1150mm long. The EDF unit inside here is a 12-bladed 70mm unit that produces a massive amount of thrust. The motor powering that is a 3048 2000 kV motor, and the ESC is an 80 amp ESC with the BEC for everything. The servos in here are all metal geared. There's only 3 servos, one for the elevator between the 2 raised pylon pieces at the back, and one each side for the ailerons, and they're nicely protected with some plastic covers. You're going to need a couple of things to fly this. You're going to need a radio system, naturally, so you're going to need a receiver and radio. The setup for this is very basic because you only need 3 channels, one for the aileron, which is on a Y cable, one for the elevator, and one for the throttle channel. And you're also going to need a battery. Now in the manual it talks about a 3000 milliamp hour 6S pack. I used a 3300 6S pack, and that provided really nice center of gravity. Now the box it comes in is not as big as you expect, despite the size of the model. So taking everything out, first thing that comes out is the wings. And I wasn't sure about the decals, but actually in real life they look fantastic, and they really make it look a lot brighter. And you do need these visual aids to keep track of this thing because it flies so quickly. Any help spotting which way up is good. Now the wings are held in place with an aluminium spar, and there's a couple of brackets that glue into place. Once those brackets are glued in, then you need a couple of screws stop the wings from popping off. The only other thing then is the elevator. The elevator control is this piece. This is the wing that goes onto the back. Again, metal gear servo. All the linkages and everything on mine were set up really nicely, so they were at 90 degrees and needed very little trimming from the radio. Then you have these pieces that go over the root of the wing and go back to hold the elevator in position, again with the same kind of decals on. They're very easy to fit. You don't have to glue those in place. I didn't with mine. You get a bag of bits that include all of the covers and the little brackets, and then the main event is the body that's all put together. You just need to pull the back piece out of the box. It took me a moment to figure that out, and then the body is free and it's pretty much ready to go. All the decals are applied, EDF is installed. There's absolutely tons of room in here, and you're going to need it for that big chunky 6S battery. Loads of air vents here for that EDF fan in the back. There's one at the bottom, 2 at the sides, 2 at the front, and it needs an awful lot of air to get this thing moving. To build the model isn't very complicated at all. There isn't an awful lot of gluing or messing about to be done. All you need to do is find these T-shaped pieces of wood with some decent glue, pop them into position in the front and rear part of the wing, and then also glue in the covers, and then leave that a couple of hours to dry and set up, and that is the trickiest part of the build done. Once the glue's set up, then just slide over those pieces. I'd wait until the glue's set up unless you want these glued in place, because any little bits of glue is going to grab onto these. But I found that it can be quite portable because it's relatively easy to break down, because there's only a couple of glue seams at the back that you have to be careful of. Once that's on, then grab the wing, push home the aluminium spar and connect the servo. Make sure you have the right polarity and it's the right way round and the Y colours match. Then slide it home and then use the screws provided to connect it. The longer ones go into the front holes, the shorter one goes into the rear, and that will stop the wing from popping off in flight. The only thing you have to be a little bit careful of is the wire that goes into the elevator is on this side of the plane, and that's going to plug into the servo at the back. So you do need to kind of run that up, and there's a little connector that you can cover with a plastic piece. So you're going to have to do exactly the same on this side, but just embed that wire into the foam. Personally, I think it would have been nicer to have the two short stubby connections here on the wing and then have a separate extension piece that you could kind of plug into that piece at the side so it was easier to remove, because this, once it's all together, it kind of makes it trickier to take apart if you needed to transport. So with that in place, last job then is just to glue the horizontal stabilizer into place and connect up the servo cable and then cover that piece with the supplied cover. It would have been nice maybe to have this piece held in place with a screw, and then it would have been easier to break down, because once this is together, this is a lovely big model. So what is it like to fly? Well, the answer is actually really good. I've had a couple of EDFs from Hobby King, and in my opinion, this is the best one that I've had. It has tons of power, it looks fantastic, it's very easy to hand launch, give it 100% throttle, and away it goes. Even at 50% throttle though, it is very, very quick. So trying to get decent footage of it flying is tricky. But take it from me, this is a really, really lovely model to fly. So a couple of things to mention in summary. This is fast. You're going to need a big open space. By the time it's whizzed past you on the flight line, then you're already going to have to think about starting a turn to bring it around, even at relatively low throttles. It is very quick, and that big battery and the bigger size of the model means it handles wing and penetrates wind really well, but when you cut the throttle to come in for a landing, it also maintains that speed quite nicely too. The handling for this model is really good, and it's not going to be for a beginner, definitely for an intermediate or more advanced pilot. Now in the manual, I found that the centre of gravity that's mentioned is spot on, so well done Hobby King. You can see here on the bottom of my model where I've actually marked it with a little bit of Sharpie pen, and the trick that I used was on the battery that I'm using for this model. I actually marked also a little mark on the battery and a similar mark just by the side of the battery bay, so if I line those up, then that also means that the centre of gravity is spot on. That means setup at the field is a lot faster too. The throws are good in the manual, so follow those and you should be fine. I was using 30% expo, which is the higher range that's talked about in the manual, and I personally wouldn't have liked to have it any less, particularly when you are giving it lots of throttle. The amount of air moving past these control surfaces mean that even small deflections produce a very dramatic result. It is very, very responsive, so do start out when you fly this with decent amount of expo. I only needed a very, very small amount of trim on this, a little bit of elevator compensation for the torque produced by the EDF, and a couple of clicks of elevator trim. That was because I eyeballed the elevator to be straight and level, and I think I just hadn't got it quite right. That 3300 3S pack lasts me about 4.5 minutes. It'll last me a lot less if I'm giving it full throttle, but for 4.5 minutes on general kind of flying around. I do like the way that you can remove the wings for transport. Just keep an eye on those wooden bits if you're doing that though, and treat them with a bit of respect. They will eventually start to give up if you keep using the screws into those same wooden pieces over and over again. But in summary, if you are looking for an EDF, maybe you've been flying other things and you're a competent pilot and looking for your first EDF to give it a try, this is a great model. It looks fantastic, it flies brilliantly, but you just need to make sure you have lots and lots of room. Thanks for watching the video and watching right to the very end. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you like the video and like what I'm doing here, then hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon too. If you really like what I'm doing, you can go the extra mile and become one of my Patreons for access to me directly for support, and also giveaways and regular updates too. If you're looking for particular content, then check out the playlist. I organise all of my videos into playlists, so if you're looking for a particular topic, you can find everything here. If it's called Introduction To, it's designed to start very simply and build on that simple introduction to teach you all about it. If it's called For Beginners, then that is really aimed at people who are brand new to that part of the hobby. You can also search on YouTube for anything that you're interested in using the search function at the top. So iNav Painless 360 will find all of my videos and even the playlists around iNav. So thanks again for watching and happy flying.